In just a few months, 10 strange signs appeared in the sky. A storm shaped like a wall, thousands of spiders falling from above, a red mark that vanished just before darkness. Later, a glowing cross near the moon. None of these moments came with warning, and at first, they didn't seem connected. But as more of them appeared, people started to notice something unsettling. A pattern. Something is changing above us, and the signs are appearing faster than anyone expected. Each event is disturbing on its own, but together they feel different, not random, not isolated. Many have begun to feel that the sky itself no longer behaves the way it should, that something familiar has shifted, even if no one can fully explain it yet. The tension doesn't come from a single moment. It builds gradually. One sign appears, then another, each one harder to ignore than the last. So the question becomes unavoidable. If these signs are connected, what are they trying to tell us? And how close are we to understanding their meaning? Stay with us, because as we examine each event, the picture becomes clearer and the message grows harder to dismiss. And it all starts with the first sign. 1. Storm that moved like a wall of judgment. On March 8, the sky changed, without warning. Hose. From the window of a passenger plane, a towering wall of darkness rose from the ocean, swallowing the horizon in seconds. It was no ordinary storm. This was a massive, solid barrier, moving with an eerie sense of purpose. The clouds were layered, dense, and pressing down, not like a usual storm, but like a force coming to erase everything in its path. As it advanced, the world below shifted into chaos. Streets vanished beneath a torrential rain, waves surged inland, and buildings crumbled under the storm's power. Inside the plane, passengers were frozen in silence, watching as the cloud wall seemed to close in, even from thousands of feet in the air. It felt too close. Like the sky itself was no longer open, but had transformed into something that was actively suffocating the world below. Footage from the ground revealed an unsettling contrast. The calm inside the cabin versus the destruction below. The horizon disappeared, replaced by a solid, advancing darkness. Airports halted departures, ships turned back, and entire communities braced as wind and water collided. But what unsettled people most wasn't just the destruction, it was the shape of the storm. Unlike any storm seen before, it wasn't scattered or random. It was unified, moving forward like a massive wall, creating a quiet, pervasive unease. Matthew 24:7-8 speaks of growing disturbances across the earth, building toward greater turmoil. To some, this storm seemed like a manifestation of that very prophecy. It wasn't just about destruction. It was a reminder of how quickly stability can vanish, of how fragile humanity is when faced with forces beyond control. And the image of that advancing wall lingered, suggesting something far bigger was at play, something the world was yet to fully understand. Psalm 107:25 reminds us that storms rise at God's command. As viewers watched the footage, that sentiment resonated deeply. The movement of the clouds felt purposeful, even divine. When the storm finally passed, silence lingered, more unsettling than any roar of thunder. Ruins stood where normal life had existed hours before, and lingering questions remained. Why was the storm so deliberate? Why did it feel more like a warning than just chaos? And as the world tried to recover, the sky delivered another sign. But this time, there was no thunder, only a quiet descent that changed everything. 2. Spiders rained from the sky. Days after the towering storm faded, the sky returned to calm. But this stillness didn't last long. On the 19th of March, 2025, people started noticing something strange falling from above. At first, It looked like ash or light snow, drifting gently down, catching the sunlight. But then, the movement became clearer. Thousands of small spiders floated silently through the air, suspended on thin silk strands. They drifted between rooftops, trees, and open fields, covering the land in a delicate web. The descent was eerie, almost graceful, but deeply unsettling. There was no wind to carry them. They simply fell, as if released from the sky itself, coating everything below in fine, shimmering silk. Witnesses froze, staring up in disbelief, while others slowly stepped back, some even backing away from the thin strands that seemed to appear from nowhere. The scene was hypnotic, yet unnerving, as the land below transformed into a surreal, silken veil. The footage spread quickly. On the surface, it was almost beautiful, like a dream or a scene from a movie, but the sheer number of spiders made it impossible to ignore. Streets, parks, and fields were blanketed in threads, and people began to notice the strange quiet that hung in the air. It wasn't the roar of a storm. This was a silent descent, and the lack of sound only heightened the unease. The contrast was sharp: beauty versus discomfort. The peaceful visual felt wrong because of what it was. Unlike the chaos of the storm, this sign felt controlled, deliberate, like something far greater was behind it. People spoke in hushed tones, almost as if they feared disturbing the strange calm, their eyes fixed on the sky. The descent felt coordinated, like the sky itself was lowering a curtain, bringing something to a close. It wasn't just an odd event. It felt like a message. Joel 2:30-31 speaks of wonders in the heavens and on earth before difficult times arrive. While the verses describe dramatic signs, the underlying principle matched what many viewers felt. This wasn't destruction, but something subtle yet significant. And the gentle fall of thousands of spiders became a reminder that sometimes the quietest signs linger the longest. The stillness itself felt like the message. Ecclesiastes 12:1 calls for reflection before difficult days come. For many, the descent felt like that kind of reminder. The strands glistened in the sunlight, then settled, leaving faint traces across everything. As quickly as it came, it was gone, but the change it left behind was undeniable. The air felt different. The world seemed slightly out of balance, and just as people were left asking why, the sky delivered another sign. But this time, it didn't just release something. It marked itself. 3. Sign appeared before darkness. Not long after the spider's silent descent faded, something new appeared in the sky. But this time, it wasn't subtle. On a clear blue day, a red circular formation emerged high above. At first, it seemed almost ordinary, but the shape was too sharp, too unnatural, against the vast blue. It didn't shimmer, it didn't drift. It was perfectly still, as though pressed onto the heavens like a seal. The deep crimson color stood out sharply, like a warning written in bold ink, drawing the eyes upwards and holding them there. People stared, bewildered, as the circle remained fixed in place, completely undisturbed by the gentle breeze or passing clouds. The stillness of the formation added weight to the moment, making it feel deliberate, like something that didn't belong. And then, almost imperceptibly, the sky began to change. Dark storm clouds rolled in slowly, steadily, but the red circle didn't move. It stayed in place, unchanged, as the ominous clouds pressed forward. It was as if the circle was holding its ground before the coming darkness. The moment it was swallowed by the storm, the red shape vanished. Not slowly, not fading away, but disappearing in an instant. There was no transition, no gradual shift. It was there, and then it was gone. The sudden disappearance left an unsettling feeling. The timing felt too precise, too intentional. It was as if the symbol had been placed there just before the storm arrived, a message before the world shifted again. Many viewers saw the imagery as a symbol of something bigger. Revelation 6:5-6 speaks of imbalance and judgment, where the third seal is opened and there is a warning of scarcity. The red circle, just before the storm, carried that same sense of foreshadowing. It wasn't just a random formation. It seemed like a mark placed in the sky just before something greater was about to unfold. Some tried to explain it. Perhaps it was light interacting with moisture, creating unusual colors. But the circle didn't sway. It didn't dissipate. The clarity of its form seemed to defy explanation. Questions mounted quickly. Why did it stay so precise? Why did it vanish right when the storm hit? Why did it feel so deliberate? Isaiah 30:30 describes signs in the sky before great disturbances, and for many, the red circle echoed that warning. It wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. But it was a symbol placed just before the world would change again. When the storm finally overtook the sky, the red circle was gone. But it was not forgotten. The image of a calm sky carrying such an intense symbol, only to be swallowed by darkness, stayed in the minds of those who saw it. And while they debated its meaning, the next sign was already on the horizon. This time, it didn't vanish. It broke. The four, a crack in the sky. On the 6th of December 2025, something in the sky caught the attention of those who witnessed it. A massive crack appeared, stretching across the heavens like broken glass suspended in mid-air. Behind it, a deep darkness seemed to press through, as though something beyond the visible sky was pushing forward. The crack was sharp, jagged, unnatural. It stood in stark contrast to the bright sky around it, creating an eerie sense that reality itself had split open. The footage spread quickly, unsettling anyone who saw it. Unlike clouds or simple light distortion, this fracture had clear edges, as if the sky had been torn. The shadows behind the break weren't like shifting weather patterns. They were heavy and still. The scene felt like a glimpse into something hidden, something that shouldn't be visible. The clip was brief, but the sense of unease lingered. This eerie imagery echoed ancient warnings. Isaiah 24:19-20 describes the earth reeling and breaking, a vision of instability and destruction. For many, the sight of the crack felt like a symbol of vulnerability, a reminder that even the sky, the ultimate symbol of stability, could fracture. Some tried to dismiss it, suggesting visual distortion or editing, but the crack seemed too structured to be a simple mistake. It had depth, shape, and a weight to it that couldn't be easily explained. Questions mounted. Why was there such a sharp contrast between light and darkness? Why did the fracture seem so deliberate? For those who watched, it was impossible to ignore. The human mind expects the sky to remain whole, and this fracture shattered that expectation. The crack brought to mind the words of Revelation 6:14, which speaks of the heavens rolling up like a scroll. The resemblance to the footage stirred an undeniable sense of urgency and concern. The sky itself was reacting, changing form in a way no one could easily explain. When the footage ended, no answers followed, just an oppressive silence. That brief moment of the sky broken above the earth left more questions than it did comfort. The unease lingered. And while people debated the true nature of what they had seen, something else would soon arrive. This time, it wouldn't just break. It would react as five lights that moved like they were colliding. The night began like any other, quiet and still, until, without warning, bright flashes erupted across the sky. These bursts of light appeared in different spots, illuminating the darkness with sharp intensity. Each flash seemed to cross paths, moving like invisible objects, colliding in perfect silence. There was no thunder, no rumble, just a sudden light that vanished just as quickly as it came. The flashes were unpredictable, yet appeared to follow some unseen pattern, making the scene feel like something deliberate was unfolding above. Recordings captured the lights shifting rapidly, each one appearing in irregular patterns. They weren't aircraft, nor were they lightning. The flashes didn't follow any natural rhythm, and their coordination felt deliberate. Viewers were left confused and unsettled. The sky seemed alive with movement, but there was nothing solid to explain it. The silence around these flashes heightened the mystery. Some speculated it might be a rare atmospheric phenomenon, while others wondered if the lights were something else entirely. But whatever they were, the rhythmic nature of their appearance left a lingering tension that couldn't be ignored. Luke 21:25 speaks of signs in the sun, moon, and stars before times of confusion. The flashes seemed to fit that description, an unsettling sign in the sky that caused concern and uncertainty. To many, it felt like the kind of event that hints at something much larger. Skeptics offered explanations, ball lightning, or atmospheric electricity. But the pattern was too deliberate. The lights intersected, crossing paths in ways that didn't align with any natural phenomenon. Why did they move this way? Why no sound? Why the precise timing? The more the footage was reviewed, the less it made sense. Daniel 12:4 speaks of a time when knowledge shall be increased, but answers will be elusive. This clash of lights seemed to embody that uncertainty, questions left unanswered, a search for meaning that grew stronger with each flash. Then, just as suddenly as they appeared, the lights stopped. The sky returned to normal, but the tension lingered. The silence left behind felt heavy, as if the sky itself were holding its breath. People replayed the footage, hoping for more clarity, but no answers came. And while the debate continued over the meaning of these fleeting flashes, the next sign was already on its way. This time, it wouldn't flash. It would rise, steady and relentless. 6. Something pierced the sky. It started as a calm night, with nothing to suggest that something extraordinary was about to unfold. But then, without warning, a vertical beam of light sliced through the darkness, rising sharply into the sky. This single column of brilliance stood frozen in place, while around it, dozens of smaller lights swirled in an intricate, controlled pattern. The arrangement wasn't random. It was deliberate, organized, almost like a message being encoded in the heavens themselves. As the lights shifted and rearranged, they maintained precise formations, their movements smooth and calculated. The air around them remained eerily still. Witnesses watched in stunned silence, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The central beam remained solid, unmoving, towering above everything else in the sky. Meanwhile, the smaller lights danced around it, never scattering, never losing their shape. The lack of any accompanying sound only intensified the strangeness. Bright lights typically come with noise, a hum, a buzz, a crackle. But here, there was nothing. The silence deepened the mystery, leaving only the haunting image of something far beyond the ordinary. Was this natural, or was it something designed to draw attention? The way the lights moved was different from anything anyone had seen. They didn't flicker or dissipate, but hovered, drifted, and reformed with such precision that it seemed like they were following an invisible command. The central beam remained constant, unyielding, towering above the shifting lights like a silent sentinel. This wasn't a random light show. It was something much more intentional, something that commanded attention. Joel 2:30 speaks of wonders in the heavens, pillars of smoke, and signs meant to be seen. For many, the beam of light mirrored this description. The surrounding smaller lights added to the feeling that this was no accident. It was a display, a signal, an invitation to witness something beyond understanding. It felt like a sign meant for more than just observers. It was as if the sky itself was making a deliberate statement. As some speculated about aircraft or flares, none of these theories explained the stillness of the central beam or the precise, coordinated movements of the lights. Why did the smaller lights move in such a calculated fashion? Why did the central beam remain perfectly still while the others shifted around it? The absence of an explanation only deepened the sense that this wasn't just a natural phenomenon. It was a mystery, and the more the footage spread, the more viewers felt it had significance that no one could yet grasp. Exodus 13:21 tells of a pillar of fire leading the way for the Israelites. For those who witnessed the event, the image of a towering pillar in the sky seemed to echo that ancient guidance. But this time, the light wasn't leading anyone. It was drawing their attention. The beam of light felt like a call to pause, to look, to reflect on what was happening in the sky above. As the lights faded and the sky returned to silence, the weight of the moment lingered. What had just pierced the night? What was the true meaning behind the glowing column and its companions? The sky, once calm, now felt heavy with unspoken significance. And just as the lights disappeared, another sign began to form, one that wouldn't simply float in the sky, but would appear as a solid shape, fixed in place. 7. Perfect ring appeared high above. On the 21st of August, 2025, the sky unveiled a stunning sight, one that quietly demanded attention with its eerie stillness. A brilliant white light emerged from the clouds, locked in one exact position, unshaken by the wind. Right beside it, a dark, perfectly circular ring materialized, sharply defined against the sky. A surreal image that gave the impression of a doorway suspended in the heavens. It was as if the sky itself had paused, holding a shape that felt intentional, almost prophetic. Nothing moved. No clouds crossed the formation. The ring remained motionless, its edges sharp and symmetrical, contrasting with the steady light beside it. The scene felt like time itself had come to a halt, and for those witnessing it, the sky was no longer just a backdrop. It became a message. Witnesses who captured the footage replayed it over and over, each time searching for any sign of motion or distortion. Yet, nothing changed. The light stayed locked in its place, and the circle remained fixed and perfect, as though it had been deliberately drawn in the sky. The stillness only deepened the sense of mystery. It didn't feel like an optical illusion or a natural phenomenon. The precision of the formation, the perfect symmetry, and the unwavering position made the event feel unnatural. Genesis 28:12 tells of a dream where Jacob saw a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending upon it. For many who witnessed the ring in the sky, this biblical vision resonated deeply. The bright light seemed like a focal point, a connection between the earthly realm and the divine. The perfectly circular ring felt like a doorway, an opening in the fabric of reality, inviting those who looked up to reflect on something far beyond what the eye could see. Explanations poured in, with some suggesting atmospheric optics or lens effects, but the stillness of the formation defied these theories. Why did the circle appear so perfectly shaped? Why did the light remain completely still? Why did so many observers describe the same sense of an opening? The precision of the formation, combined with its motionlessness, left little room for doubt. It felt deliberate, not random. The sky no longer felt empty. It felt like a canvas, revealing something hidden. Revelation 4:1 speaks of a door opening in heaven, with a voice like a trumpet calling attention. The connection was striking. The fixed light and the unyielding circle made the event feel like a divine sign, a door in the heavens calling us to pay attention. To many, it wasn't just a strange sight in the sky. It was a message meant to stir the soul. Then, as quietly as it appeared, the formation began to fade, leaving behind a sky that returned to its natural calm. But the impression lingered. The ring, with its unnatural precision, seemed to beckon unanswered questions. The stillness felt heavy, urging deeper reflection. And just as the sky seemed to settle, a new sign began to form, not fixed like the ring, but shifting, alive, changing before their very eyes. 8. Orbs that drifted with intention. On the 22nd of November, 2025, a mesmerizing phenomenon unfolded quietly in the night sky. Several glowing orbs drifted slowly across the horizon, captured in a sequence of photographs that sparked immediate fascination. Their movement was smooth, deliberate, and strangely coordinated, as if they were traveling in unison with a shared purpose. These lights didn't flicker like distant stars, nor resemble the erratic movement of aircraft. Each orb appeared distinct, yet faint, hovering with a calm, almost serene intent. The moment left witnesses in awe, feeling both peaceful and unnervingly deliberate at the same time. One recording captured a single orb, floating serenely above. Its surface shimmered, rippling as if alive, as though a gentle wave passed over it. The color gradually shifted from a soft white glow to a faint red before thinning into darkness. The transformation felt organic, like a breath exhaled into the night, moving with an unsettling grace. The orb never shattered or lost its shape. It simply morphed, slowly and steadily, in a way that felt both controlled and intentional. The silence surrounding it added to the mystery, leaving no clues as to its true nature. It seemed to exist somewhere between light and form, neither fully solid nor pure energy, but something in between. Ezekiel 1-4 paints a vivid picture of such otherworldly forms. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it. The image of a glowing form emerging from within a cloud resonated with those who saw the orbs. The soft glow, the gradual transformation, seemed to mirror the radiant figures described in biblical visions, suggesting that light, when in motion, can symbolize something far beyond the physical world. For many believers, this connection deepened the sense that the orbs were more than just atmospheric anomalies. Some attempted to explain the phenomenon as a rare atmospheric effect, but the way the orb moved, controlled, measured, and purposefully defied these explanations. The orb's transformation was too deliberate to be dismissed as chance. It shifted color smoothly, holding its form throughout the change, before fading slowly into the night. The consistency across multiple recordings made it clear that what was being witnessed was not an isolated event, but something shared, a pattern. The lights didn't behave randomly. They moved with intention. Hebrews 1-7 offers another layer of understanding. And of the angels, he saith, who maketh his angels spirits, and his ministers a flame of fire. The verse connects angels to forms of light, and for many watching the orbs, the image felt strikingly relevant. The gentle flowing motion of the orbs didn't inspire fear, but contemplation, as if they were guiding lights, beckoning those who witnessed them to look upward and consider their deeper meaning. As the last orb faded from view, the sky returned to its usual stillness, but something had changed. The atmosphere felt charged, as if the night had hosted something far beyond the ordinary. The shapes had moved with grace, with intention, and that lingering feeling remained in the air. As the orbs faded, the next sign was already forming in the sky, brighter, sharper, and unmistakable. The symbol that would follow was one that many would recognize instantly. 9. A symbol that changed the atmosphere. The sky fell quiet again, but this time, the sign that appeared felt different. It came with a gentle calm rather than the intensity of past events. A luminous cross formed within clouds, surrounding the moon, glowing softly against the dark expanse of the night. Its symmetry was striking. Vertical and horizontal lines meeting with perfect balance, almost as if it had been drawn with intent. What made the image even more extraordinary was its position. The cross appeared to shine through the moon itself, like a light from beyond, rather than simply being part of the clouds. The scene, though serene, stirred deep emotion in all who witnessed it. The stillness of the night only amplified the sense that this was no ordinary moment. It felt sacred. As photographs of the cross spread across screens, the reaction was immediate. Some paused in silence, others felt comforted, while many described a profound sense of reassurance. Unlike the fleeting, intense displays of the previous signs, the cross did not flicker or distort. It remained steady, glowing gently as the moon illuminated its edges. The clouds around it seemed to frame the symbol rather than obscure it, making the cross appear intentionally placed, almost like a message gently shining through. Unlike the chaos of earlier signs, this one felt soothing, encouraging viewers to reflect deeply and suggesting that there was more to the scene than what met the eye. Matthew 24-30 captures the essence of such signs. "And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." For many believers, this glowing cross served as a reminder of that promise, a quiet affirmation of hope amidst the uncertainty. The light did not demand attention through grandeur, but instead invited contemplation, a sign of faith illuminated against the dark. Some tried to explain the event as mere cloud alignment, but the clarity of the cross and its perfect positioning around the moon left a lasting impression. The steady glow felt too precise to dismiss easily. The emotional response from viewers was immediate, as the symbol brought a sense of calmness, replacing the fear and confusion that had defined the previous signs. The mood shifted from warning to reassurance, from chaos to calm. The sky no longer appeared broken or tumultuous. Instead, it displayed a symbol recognized universally as a message of grace. John 8:12 echoes the sentiment. "Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life." The cross, glowing softly near the moon, embodied this message of light, an invitation to trust and faith even in the face of uncertainty. For those who witnessed it, the moment was a subtle yet profound call to remain anchored in faith. As the clouds slowly shifted and the cross faded, the sense of peace lingered in the air, leaving a calmness that contrasted sharply with the earlier signs. It was as if the night itself had shifted, bringing with it a moment of grace. But as the moonlit cross faded, one thing was clear: the final sign would be different, and its message would be impossible to ignore. 10. A cross of awakening. The final sign appeared with a solemn intensity, brighter and more unmistakable than all the others before it. A radiant cross emerged in the clouds, glowing with an almost otherworldly strength that cut through the sky, visible from miles away. The shape was perfectly clear and symmetrical, its light steady and commanding, unshaken by the winds or passing clouds. It seemed to hang in the air, suspended high above, demanding attention from anyone who looked up. Unlike the earlier signs, this one did not flicker or fade. It held its form, luminous and calm, yet filled with a deep sense of authority. The sky itself felt transformed, as if the heavens had painted a message, deliberate and profound. Witnesses were struck by the sheer brightness of the cross. Its radiance cut through the atmosphere, remaining visible even as the world around it shifted. It appeared during a time of heightened emotion, following a period of tragedy which only intensified the impact. Many saw it as a symbol of protection, a divine presence in the midst of uncertainty. The cross remained in the sky, unwavering, as if it had come to deliver a message that could not be ignored. What made it even more significant was that this symbol was not a one-time occurrence. Several months later, a similar cross appeared again, higher in the sky, partially veiled by clouds, but still unmistakable. Its repetition only deepened the feeling that this was no random phenomenon, but a sign with a purpose, reinforcing its sacred meaning. Revelation 1-7 speaks to such moments. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kinds of the earth shall wail because of him. For those who believed, this verse echoed through their minds as they gazed at the glowing cross. The symbol seemed to carry divine authority, a reminder of the powerful presence of God. The clarity of the cross, shining amidst the clouds, aligned with the imagery of revelation and awakening, a moment when all eyes are drawn to a higher truth. Skeptics attempted to explain the cross away as a mere play of light through cloud patterns. But the precision of the shape, its steady glow, and the fact that it reappeared made such explanations feel incomplete. The cross was too deliberate, its lines too distinct, its brightness too consistent to be dismissed as coincidence. It wasn't just a random occurrence in the sky, it was a message. And as it hung there, it seemed to call everyone to reflect, to prepare, to recognize something greater than themselves. Philippians 2:10-11 declares that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. The luminous cross seemed to embody this powerful truth, urging humanity to recognize a higher authority. What began as a symbol of reassurance now shifted to something more urgent, awakening a deep sense of responsibility, of calling, of divine truth. When the cross finally faded and the sky returned to darkness, its impact lingered. The sequence of signs had built from storms, strange lights, and reassuring symbols, culminating in this unmistakable image of faith. This final sign carried weight, no longer a mystery or warning, but a declaration that could not be ignored. Silence followed, deep and reflective. The sky had spoken in a language understood by all, and now the question remained, what would humanity do with the message it had been given? 10 signs unfolded, each one building upon the last and leaving a profound impact. A fierce storm rose as a warning, a silent descent covered the sky, a crimson mark appeared before darkness, and a crack seemed to open in the heavens. Lights collided, a beam pierced the night, a glowing ring took shape, living orbs drifted across the sky, a cross appeared beside the moon, and finally, a radiant cross stood with undeniable clarity. Together, these events form a pattern that many believe we cannot ignore. These signs echo a larger message found throughout Scripture. Creation stirring, a world in turmoil, and humanity being called to pay attention. They invite us to reflect, not just to fear. In uncertain times, faith becomes our anchor, calling us to awaken spiritually, return to prayer, and trust in the one who holds the heavens and the earth. If this message resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to stay connected. Each share helps spread hope and faith to others. Thank you for watching, and may peace cover you and your family. Stay protected, guided, and strengthened in every season. Amen.
Oh, not moving.
Is the world quietly shifting while most of us look away? A glowing sphere drops from the sky. 3 suns blaze over a silent village, and deep rumbling sounds roll across the clouds like distant thunder. A perfect circle appears in a field overnight. A bird mimics human voices as if delivering a warning, and weather splits into snow and rain at the same moment. A luminous spiral drifts across the horizon. Birds freeze in unnatural stillness. A sudden explosion leaves streets in chaos, and ancient carvings emerge like echoes from another age. 10 events surge forward, collide, and escalate, each one more unsettling than the last. They happen far apart, yet the pattern feels unified, as though heaven and earth are responding to the same signal. The pace accelerates, the tension tightens, and the sense of urgency grows with every sign. These moments are not slowing down. Have you felt that something is changing? Have you witnessed anything that made you question what is really happening? If these signs are not random, then something is unfolding right now, and the window to understand it may be closing. Let's begin with the first sign. 1. A voice that should not exist. On a quiet afternoon, a simple trip to lunch suddenly turned into a moment that felt unsettling and deeply symbolic. A small bird landed gently on the hood of a parked car, but instead of chirping normally, it began producing sounds that resembled human speech. The friends inside the car froze, confused yet fascinated, sensing that something about this moment felt different. The bird tilted its head and repeated tones that sounded almost intentional, like a message struggling to break through the ordinary noise of the world. What began as harmless curiosity quickly gained weight, carrying an uneasy feeling that this encounter meant more than it appeared. The group kept recording, and the bird continued mimicking voices, even echoing one of the girls in a distorted but recognizable way. Minutes later, the friends drove away, still laughing nervously, unsure of what they had witnessed. Not long after leaving, they were robbed on the road, and the memory of the bird instantly returned with chilling clarity. The warning had already passed. The coincidence felt too precise to ignore, and many who later watched the footage wondered whether the bird had been more than an animal, perhaps a messenger sent before danger unfolded. The idea that a message could arrive through such an unexpected form stirred both curiosity and unease. Numbers 22:28 records a moment when God used a creature to deliver a warning. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" This passage reveals that divine messages are not always delivered through prophets or angels, but sometimes through the most unexpected forms. When people reflect on the talking bird, they cannot help but notice a faint echo of that ancient moment, as though history quietly repeated itself in a modern setting. Some may attempt to explain the event as coincidence or simple mimicry, yet the timing challenges that comfort. The bird spoke, the group ignored it, and danger followed almost immediately. That sequence raises deeper questions about whether modern humanity has grown too quick to dismiss warnings that do not fit expectations. The incident does not demand belief, but it plants doubt, a quiet uncertainty that something meaningful may have been overlooked. The more people replay the footage, the heavier the silence after the event seems to become. Job 12:7-10 offers another perspective. "But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds in the sky, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, or let the fish in the sea inform you. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind." These words suggest that creation itself can become a vessel of divine communication. When read alongside the strange encounter, curiosity slowly transforms into reverence, and the possibility of quiet warnings becomes harder to dismiss. For humanity, the deeper concern lies not in the bird itself, but in the response. The warning appeared, the message sounded, yet it was ignored. That pattern reflects a broader fear, that signs may be unfolding around us while we remain distracted by routine. A soft voice tried to speak, but it faded into silence. Beyond that silence, another sign begins to rise, one that no longer whispers but rumbles across the sky. 2. The sky made a sound with no source. Beneath a heavy blanket of clouds, a man lifted his camera to capture the quiet sky, expecting nothing more than drifting gray shapes. Suddenly, a deep rumbling rolled across the air, not sharp like thunder, but low and prolonged, like a distant roar pressing downward from beyond sight. The sound vibrated through the atmosphere, lingering longer than any natural echo. The sky remained visually still, yet the noise carried a weight that felt deliberate, as though something unseen had announced its presence. The calm moment collapsed into unease. The silence that followed felt heavier, as though the sky itself had just groaned. Not long after, similar reports surfaced from far away, where people described hearing the same strange rumbling through radios and open air. Recordings began circulating, each clip capturing a metallic, rolling resonance that seemed to stretch across the sky. Witnesses spoke of confusion mixed with fear, unsure whether the sound came from above or from deep within the earth. The pattern was no longer local. The sound was spreading. What seemed like a single, unexplained moment now appeared as part of a larger sequence, and the growing number of testimonies intensified the sense that something unusual was unfolding. Jeremiah 10:13 describes a powerful image. When he utters his voice, there is a tumult of waters in the heavens, and he makes the mist rise from the ends of the earth. He makes lightning for the rain, and he brings forth the wind from his storehouses. This verse speaks of a voice that moves through the heavens with force. When the sky produces deep rumblings without visible storm, the imagery feels strikingly familiar. The idea that such sounds might carry divine meaning transforms a simple recording into something far more significant. The heavens appear less silent when viewed through this lens. Some attempted to attribute the phenomenon to atmospheric pressure or distant machinery. Yet these explanations struggled to capture the emotional impact described by those who heard it. The rumbling lacked the sudden crack of thunder and carried a drawn-out resonance that felt intentional. It arrived without warning, hovered unnaturally, and disappeared without leaving a trace. The absence of a visible cause left many unsettled. The question remained whether humanity was witnessing a natural anomaly or hearing a warning that had not yet been understood. Revelation 10:3 records another moment tied to a powerful sound. And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roars. When he cried out, the seven thunders uttered their voices. The description of thunderous voices connected to divine action invites reflection. When unexplained rumblings echo across the modern sky, the connection to prophetic imagery becomes difficult to dismiss. The thought that the heavens might be speaking awakens a sense of urgency. Such moments encourage people to listen more carefully, searching for meaning beyond the sound itself. The most unsettling element is repetition. A single noise may fade quickly, yet recurring echoes suggest intention. The sky rarely produces sounds that stir collective unease, and when it does, attention naturally follows. These rumblings left behind a lingering tension, as though the air had carried a message not yet fully revealed. The silence after the echoes felt like a pause before something greater. The next sign would not be heard, it would be seen. 3. A silent light descended to earth. During a quiet drive along a snow-covered road, a man recorded the still landscape, capturing trees coated in frost and an empty horizon. Without warning, a glowing sphere descended from the sky, moving smoothly before touching the ground in the distance. The object did not explode or scatter. It settled with an eerie calm, radiating soft shades of pink, orange, and gray. The driver slowed, confusion mixing with fascination, as he realized he had just captured something he could not explain. The stillness made the glowing sphere feel deliberate, like a sign placed within an untouched scene. He drove closer, stepped out, and continued filming while the object remained motionless, glowing faintly against the pale ground. The air looked calm, no smoke, no sound, no visible source. The footage quickly spread online, drawing thousands of viewers who replayed the moment repeatedly, searching for clues. Some suggested advanced technology, others speculated about unknown aerial phenomena, yet no official explanation followed. No answers followed, and the mystery only deepened. The quiet landing and lingering glow created the impression of a message delivered without words. Exodus 13:21 presents an image that resonates with such a sight. By day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel by day or night. This passage speaks of light descending to guide and signal direction. When a glowing object appears suddenly and rests silently on the earth, the imagery echoes the idea of divine light intersecting with human paths. The connection invites reflection on whether such moments serve as reminders that guidance can appear unexpectedly. Some observers attempted to classify the sphere as debris or an atmospheric illusion, yet the controlled descent and steady glow raised questions. The object did not behave like a meteor, nor did it leave a visible trail. Its calm arrival and lingering presence suggested intention rather than randomness. The lack of sound added to the unease, as though the moment was meant to be witnessed rather than explained. Doubt began to replace quick conclusions. Ezekiel 1-4 describes a vision that many find strikingly similar. I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal. The imagery of brilliant light descending and resting within a vision has led some to draw parallels with unexplained luminous objects. When modern recordings display glowing forms touching the earth, the resemblance encourages deeper contemplation. The possibility that light itself may function as a sign strengthens the sense of mystery. The significance of this moment lies in its quiet precision. No noise, no destruction, only a sphere of light descending into stillness. Such events leave behind questions rather than answers, and questions often carry more weight than explanations. The glowing object appeared briefly, yet the impression lingered, as though the sky had placed a marker upon the earth. The calmness of the landing suggested that something larger was unfolding step by step. The next sign would multiply the light in the sky. 4. 3 suns appeared where only one should exist. In the middle of an ordinary afternoon, a farmer paused his work and looked upward, expecting nothing more than a familiar sun. Instead, 3 brilliant lights shone above him, arranged in a triangular formation that illuminated the land in an unfamiliar glow. He rubbed his eyes, stepped back, and looked again, yet the vision remained unchanged. The sky appeared calm, no storm clouds, no distortion, only 3 radiant suns suspended in silence. Others nearby began pointing upward, their voices filled with confusion as the light spread gently across the ground. The scene felt less like a natural phenomenon and more like a moment suspended between heaven and earth. The farmer lifted his camera, capturing the unusual alignment as the lights continued to glow steadily. None of them flickered or faded quickly, and the formation remained symmetrical, intensifying the sense that the moment carried meaning. Viewers later replayed the footage, counting the lights, analyzing the angle, and searching for reflections or illusions. Yet the brightness appeared distinct, each orb shining clearly in its own place. The stillness of the air and the clarity of the formation deepened the mystery. Curiosity grew as people began to wonder whether the sky itself was presenting a sign rather than a coincidence. Genesis 1:14 speaks of the purpose of lights in the heavens. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years." This verse emphasizes that celestial lights can serve as signs. When 3 suns appear simultaneously, the imagery invites reflection on whether the heavens are communicating through alignment and brilliance. The presence of multiple lights strengthens the impression of intentionality. The sky appears to speak through symbols that stir attention and contemplation. Some explanations suggested atmospheric refraction or ice crystals bending light. Yet the precision of the triangular formation left many unconvinced. The brightness seemed too defined, and the persistence of the lights created a sense of deliberate placement. Observers noted that the glow illuminated the land in a way that felt unusual, neither harsh nor scattered. The lack of rapid change intensified the perception that the moment carried significance. Doubt emerged, not in disbelief of the event, but in questioning whether simple explanations were enough. The more people studied the footage, the more the mystery deepened. Matthew 24-29 describes celestial disturbances tied to prophetic imagery. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Though the verse speaks of dramatic change, it highlights the heavens as active participants in unfolding events. When multiple suns appear in one sky, the idea of celestial signs gains strength. The unusual brightness and alignment evoke a sense that the heavens are shifting, drawing attention to something beyond ordinary understanding. For humanity, the most striking element is the number itself. 1 sun is familiar, 2 might confuse, but 3 create a vision that feels symbolic. The formation lingered long enough to imprint itself in memory, leaving viewers unsettled yet fascinated. The sky appeared to multiply its light, as though emphasizing urgency through brilliance. The moment faded, yet its meaning remained open, inviting reflection. The next sign would not multiply the sun, but transform the sky into a living glow moving slowly across the horizon. 5. A living light drifted across the horizon. In the quiet stillness of early morning, a photographer raised his camera to capture mountains bathed in soft dawn light. The horizon appeared peaceful, the sky pale and calm, until a radiant glow emerged from behind the peaks. The light did not flash or streak. It drifted slowly, expanding into a shape that resembled a floating jellyfish. Colors blended and shifted, blue, green, pink, and orange, forming spiral patterns that rotated gently across the sky. The movement felt deliberate, graceful, almost alive, as if the heavens themselves had begun to breathe. The photographer's steady hands captured every second, yet his silence revealed that he had no words to describe what he was witnessing. The glowing form continued gliding across the horizon, leaving no trail and making no sound. Its wheel-like structure expanded and contracted, creating layers of luminous patterns that seemed to pulse softly. Viewers later replayed the footage frame by frame, analyzing the symmetry and motion, yet the phenomenon resisted simple categorization. The colors appeared too vivid for clouds, the structure too organized for random light. As the glow drifted, the surrounding sky remained calm, emphasizing the isolation of the phenomenon. Curiosity grew into awe, and awe gradually shifted into a quiet sense that the moment carried spiritual significance. Exodus 40:34-35 describes a powerful image of divine presence. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting because the cloud had settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. The imagery of a luminous cloud representing divine glory resonates deeply with a glowing form moving across the sky. The drifting light, filled with color and motion, evokes the idea of a presence that reveals itself gently rather than violently. When the heavens display beauty that defies explanation, the moment invites contemplation of something sacred. Some observers proposed rare atmospheric light or reflections from distant sources, yet the structured spirals and shifting hues raised doubts. The glow behaved with unusual precision, maintaining shape while drifting steadily. No visible source appeared, no sound accompanied its movement, and the colors remained distinct. The lack of ordinary characteristics made technical explanations feel incomplete. Each replay of the video strengthened the sense that the phenomenon was intentional, not chaotic. The photographer himself admitted that years of experience had never prepared him for such a sight, adding credibility to the mystery. Ezekiel 1:28 offers another vision filled with luminous symbolism. Like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the radiance around him. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. The description of radiant color surrounding divine presence parallels the multicolored glow drifting across the sky. When modern viewers encounter swirling lights filled with vibrant hues, the connection to prophetic imagery becomes compelling. The heavens appear not only to speak through sound or alignment, but also through beauty that inspires reverence. The deeper impact of this event lies in its emotional tone. The light did not frighten through violence. It captivated through wonder. The gentle movement and vivid colors created a sense of peace mixed with mystery, encouraging reflection rather than panic. Such moments draw attention upward, inviting humanity to pause and consider meanings beyond routine life. The glowing form eventually faded, yet the impression lingered, as though the sky had briefly unveiled a hidden layer. After a display filled with color and motion, the next sign would leave a mark not in the air, but upon the ground itself. 6. Perfect circle pressed into the earth. In the stillness of midnight, a quiet field stood untouched beneath a dark sky. Surveillance footage later revealed a strange transformation as crops in the center began to bend gently, flattening in a perfect circular pattern. The plants did not snap or scatter. They folded smoothly, forming a clean ring with an empty space at its core. No wind disturbed the surrounding area, and no shadows of movement appeared. The circle emerged silently, as though an unseen hand had pressed down from above. The calmness of the moment made the formation even more unsettling, turning an ordinary field into something that resembled a deliberate sign. Morning light exposed the full shape, precise and symmetrical, sharply contrasting with the untouched crops around it. The farmer stood in disbelief, walking the perimeter, searching for footprints, tire marks, or any trace of human activity. Nothing appeared. The soil remained undisturbed, and the plants inside the circle lay neatly aligned. Footage from the night showed no entry, no exit, no visible cause. The absence of explanation intensified the tension, leaving only the image of a symbol etched into the land. Curiosity quickly shifted into unease as observers wondered whether the ground itself had received a message. Isaiah 66:19 speaks of signs placed among people. I will set a sign among them, and I will send survivors from them to the nations. The idea of a sign appearing physically resonates with a mark formed upon the earth. A circle, precise and silent, evokes symbolism that feels intentional rather than random. The land appeared to carry a message without words, prompting reflection on whether creation itself can bear witness. The stillness surrounding the formation deepened the impression that the event held meaning beyond coincidence. Some proposed mechanical interference or human creation, yet the lack of disturbance challenged those theories. The crops bent uniformly, not crushed unevenly, and no tracks led into the area. Wind could not produce such precision, and no equipment appeared in the recording. The symmetry remained the most puzzling aspect, suggesting design rather than accident. Doubt grew stronger as viewers realized that common explanations failed to account for the quiet emergence. The more the footage was examined, the more the circle seemed deliberate, as though placed carefully for someone to notice. Luke 21:25 contains a warning about signs affecting both heaven and earth. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. This verse connects celestial signs with disturbances on the ground. A perfect circle appearing overnight mirrors the idea of perplexity spreading across the earth. The formation did not destroy the field, yet it left confusion and unease. The most chilling element lies in the silence, a symbol left behind without sound or movement. After a mark pressed into the earth, the next moment would arrive with sudden force that shattered calm surroundings. 7. The calm shattered by a sudden blast. A quiet day was shattered by a massive booming sound that echoed across a neighborhood, sending people rushing outside in confusion. The air filled with dust, debris scattered across the ground, and fragments of metal and glass lay in every direction. In the middle of the chaos, a vehicle appeared crushed beneath what looked like parts of a structure, as though something heavy had dropped from above. Trees leaned at unnatural angles, windows shattered, and the calm routine of daily life collapsed in seconds. Witnesses stood frozen, scanning the sky, searching for an explanation that never appeared. The violence of the moment felt abrupt, as if the boundary between normalcy and disruption had been broken without notice. Emergency calls flooded in as residents tried to describe what they had heard and seen. Some believed an explosion had occurred. Others thought an object had fallen, yet no clear source could be identified. Reporters arrived, cameras rolling, capturing the confusion and fear on every face. The debris pattern seemed inconsistent with ordinary accidents, deepening uncertainty. No one could explain what had fallen. The intensity of the destruction contrasted sharply with the absence of answers, amplifying tension and fueling speculation. Jeremiah 25:32 describes a moment of sudden upheaval. This is what the Lord Almighty says: "Look, disaster is spreading from nation to nation." A mighty storm is rising from the ends of the earth. The imagery of sudden disaster resonates with an unexpected blast that leaves destruction in its wake. The verse portrays chaos, arriving without gradual buildup, mirroring the abruptness of the event. The sound that shook the neighborhood carried the same sense of immediacy, as though a warning had been delivered through impact. Such moments remind observers that stability can shift in an instant. Some suggested structural failure or hidden mechanical causes, yet the scattered debris and unusual damage patterns challenged simple conclusions. The absence of a visible origin deepened the mystery, leaving witnesses unsettled. The scene appeared as though force had descended suddenly, rather than spreading outward from a clear center. This ambiguity fueled doubt, encouraging people to question whether ordinary explanations were sufficient. The shock of the blast lingered long after the noise faded, imprinting a sense of vulnerability. The unpredictability of the event made the warning feel personal, as though no place was beyond sudden disruption. Isaiah 29:5-6 adds another layer of reflection. But your many enemies will become like fine dust, the ruthless hordes like blown chaff. Suddenly, in an instant, you will be visited by the Lord Almighty with thunder and earthquake and great noise. The phrase, "suddenly, in an instant," echoes the abruptness of the explosion. The description of great noise aligns with the booming sound that startled residents. Such verses portray warnings arriving through dramatic disturbance, encouraging contemplation about meaning behind sudden chaos. One moment calm, the next moment confusion and damage. After chaos erupted on the ground, the following sign would appear quieter, yet no less unsettling. 8. Two seasons collided in one place. A woman prepared to leave for work and heard the soft rhythm of rain falling outside. She reached for an umbrella, expecting a typical gray morning, yet a glance toward the backyard revealed something completely different. The ground behind her home lay covered in fresh snow, white and still, untouched by rain. She looked again, shifting her gaze between the front and the back, unable to reconcile what she was seeing. The sky looked normal, but reality split in two. Rain continued to fall in one direction, while winter appeared settled in another, creating a contrast that felt deeply unnatural. She recorded the scene, another, capturing raindrops striking one side, while snow rested quietly on the other. The sky appeared uniform, no visible boundary dividing the weather, Viewers who later watched the footage replayed it repeatedly, searching for signs of editing or manipulation. Some suggested a trick, others considered rare atmospheric behavior, yet the visual remained difficult to dismiss. The coexistence of rain and snow created an image that challenged expectations. Curiosity gave way to unease as observers wondered whether natural order was becoming less predictable. Ecclesiastes 3:1 states, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." The verse emphasizes structure and rhythm within creation. When two seasons appear simultaneously, the balance described in Scripture seems momentarily disrupted. The blending of contrasting conditions invites reflection on whether such anomalies serve as reminders that order can shift. The scene felt symbolic, as though the boundaries of time and season had briefly overlapped. Some attempted to explain the event through localized weather patterns, yet the stark contrast remained striking. The rain fell steadily, while the snow showed no sign of melting. The lack of transition between the two heightened uncertainty. The moment did not appear chaotic, but rather strangely organized, as if two conditions had been placed side by side. Doubt grew as viewers realized that simple explanations did not fully capture the visual impact. The coexistence of opposites suggested a deeper disturbance in familiar patterns. Haggai 2-6 offers a broader perspective. "This is what the Lord Almighty says. In a little while I will once more shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land." The imagery of shaking creation resonates with unusual combinations of weather. When natural order seems to blur, the verse feels relevant. The simultaneous presence of rain and snow evokes a sense that boundaries within creation may be shifting. After the weather displayed two realities at once, attention would turn to a moment where living creatures themselves moved into an unsettling stillness. 9. Living creatures stopped all at once. A woman stepped into her farm carrying grain. Expecting the usual flutter of wings and restless movement, the birds began to run as she entered. Yet, within seconds, everything changed. One by one, they stopped. Their bodies froze mid-motion, their heads lifted, their feet planted, as though time itself had paused. The enclosure fell silent. Dozens of living creatures stood perfectly still, resembling statues placed carefully across the ground. She looked around in disbelief, wondering whether she had startled them, yet the stillness persisted. They did not move, even when she stepped closer. The air felt heavy, as if an invisible presence had commanded silence. She recorded the moment, capturing rows of birds locked in place. None attempted to peck at the grain. None moved toward the open space. Their stillness appeared coordinated, not random. The unusual calm created tension, as though something unseen hovered nearby. Observers later watched the footage and debated possible explanations. Some mentioned defensive behavior. Others spoke about fatigue. Yet, the uniformity of the freeze unsettled many viewers. The image of motionless life stirred curiosity, transforming a simple farm into a stage for reflection. Habakkuk 2:20 speaks with striking clarity. "The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him." The verse portrays silence as a response to divine presence. When living creatures fall into stillness simultaneously, the scene echoes that ancient instruction. The frozen birds appeared almost reverent, their quiet posture resembling submission rather than fear. The connection between silence and awe invited deeper contemplation about the meaning behind the moment. Natural explanations attempted to reduce the event to instinct, suggesting the birds froze to avoid predators. Yet no threat appeared, no shadow crossed the ground, no sudden noise triggered alarm.